thorough pace, premium racing analytics, allowing bettors to identify races with extreme pace scenarios in a matter of seconds. Capital OTB's mobile wagering platform. Bet any place, anytime with Capital OTB's mobile wagering platform. And CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier wagering site in New York State.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report. Alongside Seth, Merrow, I am Anthony Mormino on what fairly has to be described, Seth, as a chilly August morning. Our friend and colleague, Brian Nadeau, would say that, kind of like a week ahead of schedule, he would always say, Travers Day, you kind of come out after the racing and you're kind of thinking sweatshirt weather. Well, it's sweatshirt weather this morning without any doubt. It's gray and it's overcast. We're off the turf on 2, 6, and 11, trying to hold the rest in. But it's also, I think most importantly, one of the great days in American racing. The Alabama Stakes, which, you go back a long, long time ago. There was 4 big Saturdays and the Alabama was right behind the Travers. There was a time, Seth, when before the Kentucky Oaks became the Kentucky Oaks, it was the Naira Filly Triple Crown, and the Alabama would do most of the deciding for the 3-year-old Filly Championship. And maybe we'll go a little bit away towards I'm not picking wet paint today, but and I don't have an eclipse about, but it'd be very interesting if wet paint wins.
Yeah, no question about it.
And what we do going forward, which is the way I like to see it done, settled at the Breeders' Cup, etc. But that's putting the cart before the horse, as it were. As pretty mischievous, it's going to be intriguing how people feel about her test. I think most of us feel as if it's a loss, and how you go forward with that. And if, wet paint were to win, you think she'd be the leader in the division?
Have a pretty good claim on it, certainly.
I mean, that's
but you talked about the old New York Triple Crown, the old traditional. Didn't Devona Dale win both, right?
Both of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it changed slightly, but in Open Mind had a run between her Demoiselle of her 2-year-old season through the Alabama that is almost unmatched and parallels Devona Dale. She won the Naira one. She won the Kentucky Oaks. I thought she won something called the Pimlico Oaks, so I presume that might have been the old one. But she never won a race after the Alabama. And I thought of her this morning driving up because that was a sea of slop. Angel Cordero gets her on the last jump. You can barely see her during the entire race, but she never won again. But
and what was the old night? It was the Acorn and the Alabama coaching Mother Goose. Yeah,
Mother Goose.
Yeah.
Mother Goose.
I knew coaching. I knew that was.
And what's funny about that series was 50 years ago, the Coaching Club American Oaks was the lone 3-year-old filly classic race in America. Then for a while, the Mother Goose became, at 1 1/8, the premier race of them. And now it's the Acorn. So we've done the whole dance. And I think the Mother Goose went her way, right? And they made the Acorn a 1:16 2 years ago, which I don't really like. I used to love the 1 mile Acorn. But the Alabama has been at 10 furlongs my entire life. There have been some tremendous performances through the year, tremendous upsets also. It's in the air beating Devona Dale, ending her winning streak. So there some just great matchups. Like I said, it was a rough sea of slop day, but Open Mind. I think it was her, I want to say 9th in a row. And her, she'd won a 2-year-old championship, a 3-year-old championship. She had won the Naira Filly Triple Crown. She got put up in, I want to say she got maybe put up in the Coaching Club American Oaks. And Gorgeous had pushed her to the limits in the Mother Goose. But hard to believe, Seth, it's hard to believe that was 34 years ago.
How time flies.
That's unbelievable. I was about to say 24 years ago, but then I started doing the math in my mind, and I was like, 34 years ago was Open Mind and Angel Cordero. So Gene Klein Silks might have been the last grade one for those San Diego Chargers Silks at the old spa, because I think he he divested like the day after the Breeders' Cup that year. So I think that might have been his last grade one. Perhaps not, but it's cool this morning. I don't do a weather forecast. I'm hoping we stay on the turf the others, but 2, 6, and 11 are off, as I said. And what's been unique for me, Seth, and I don't know if you feel this way as a public handicapper, and I feel completely differently. Once you get in the race and you're 20 minutes away, but as a public handicapper, a day ahead of time or 4 hours ahead of time, there's just no I cannot feel a consistency to what I'm seeing out there to develop, inside, outside, late moves, early. The turf has been a conundrum to me really for about 2 weeks worth of racing because of the rain and the infrequency we've had of those races.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And just walking around the plant, talking to people about playing this meet, I think that's the consensus that it's been tough, and the weather has played a big part of that, certainly. And everybody loves turf racing. Now, we talked a couple of days ago that back in the day when they would put the planks down to walk to turf racing wasn't quite what it is now. But folks wait for the turf races, love the turf races, love to bet into the turf races. And so this season up here with the wet weather and some races off the turf. Yeah, they've been races off the turf, but as you say, with the wet weather, kind of figuring out how horses, Caraval, you mentioned, is the perfect example.
Yeah, that was a tip off for me that I was like,
she doesn't like the soft ground, and she clearly didn't up here.
Wheels,
and it's just that we just haven't had a chance to dry out. Like a day like this isn't going to dry anything out.
This doesn't help.
Yeah, it's not doing anything.
Now,
but it's cloudy and
it rained in the Capital District. Did it rain up here?
I don't. If it did, it didn't. It wasn't bad.
Not much. Okay. One of the things we don't have to go. I don't think there's an in-depth answer to this. So, you think turf racing's field size?
Oh, absolutely.
Is what makes people really gravitate towards those races. I know it's what gravitates. I've said there are no panaceas in life, but as close as I can come, field size in horse racing is one of the few almost panaceas in life. Field size is tremendous. And the close finishes because of the nature of the racing, which makes it exciting. But it's one of the great days, as I said. Alabama is exciting enough. And I think it's a terrific horse race. I mean, to go along with it.
I think it's a great addition of it. There is no question about it.
Very competitive.
And we should, on the air, remember our colleague
Mike Veach. Favorite race of the year.
We talked about it before we came on the air. Mike, of course, Mike and Mark were in here Saturday mornings for years and years and years, and the Alabama was Mike's favorite race.
I think they did this show for 26 years or such. If we have some new fans might not remember it. It was about 5 years ago or such, 6 years ago. But Mark Usano produced the show, except once a year he allowed Mike Veach to produce Alabama Stakes Day. And Mike, who is one of the great historians of the sport, I mean, would just, when he did his Derby preview, it almost always went through the dam side, what the prospective Kentucky Derby horse had. And he loved the Alabama Stakes. And, it's unique. For the first couple of years, they ran the Breeders' Cup Distaff at 1.25 miles. And then in 88, they shortened it to 1 1/8 miles. And the reason I pointed out is this is a rarity in our sport that the fillies go 1.25 miles on dirt. I mean, the Coaching Club American Oaks was 12 furlongs, and it was 10 furlongs for a couple of years. And then went back to 12 at Belmont, but it's 9 up here. So this is, I'm trying to think, Seth, this is, I don't want to go out on a limb. The Beldame used to be 10, but this must be the only 10 furlong grade 1 dirt race for 3-year-old fillies. I don't think there are too many for 3-year-olds and up fillies. There might not be any. It might be scheduled on the dirt. So is it going to be promos or the Paula play of the day?
I'll hit on the promos.
First, okay.
First up, there is a kind of a unique promo today, Alabama Day. We're giving the rewards players a bonus today, so keep that in mind. If you're playing along with Capital OTB Bet, you get something extra today, all day Alabama Day, for folks wagering via the internet. There's a 2.5% bonus. You can see it there. All the normal rewards apply, but you get an extra 2.5% today, Alabama Day, playing with your Capital OTB Bet account. There's a $50 minimum to be eligible for that, and that's any just a total of 50 during the day gets you into it. But keep that in mind. Bonus rewards this afternoon via capitalotbbet.com. Also, keep in mind, Fan Appreciation Day at the Queensbury branch. Stop by if you're a patron up in that direction. Give us our chance to say thank you to you. Food, contest, vouchers. Should be a lot of fun. Past performances. Queensbury branch, Fan Appreciation Day this afternoon. Down at the Clubhouse Racebook, $100 Play the Board contest. Go on down and take advantage of that at the Racebook if you can't make it up here to the track. And tomorrow it's double promo day, match bet promotion and exacta board, Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany.
All right, then. DePaula Play of the Day. Weekend must be Kevin Cox, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that how it works? So we have Kevin Cox with the DePaula Chevrolet Play of the Day.
Click.
This week's Chevy Silverado is just $539 a month with zero due at inception. Yes, zero down.
So come join the family and thank DePaula for all your automotive needs.
Hello, everybody. Kevin Cox, the Brooklyn Cowboy here with your DePaula Play of the Day from beautiful Saratoga Race Course. We've been giving you our plays of the day on Fridays and Saturdays throughout the meet. And after showing a flat bet profit last year, we're just about at the break-even point this year. As usual on these big race days, sometimes it's hard to find a race that really stands out to you because the fields are usually so evenly matched. And today is no different. So we decided to look for some value. We ended up landing in the Alabama, of all things, on the number 7 Gambling Girl. This is 1/3 of the 3-headed Pletcher monster. And although she's been a bit camera shy since going back-to-back in 2022, has in fact earned some nice checks along the way. She set some money ablaze at odds of 6-5 in the Coaching Club American Oaks when finishing 3rd, but she may have actually needed that race as it was the first time she had returned off an absence. She owns a win and 2 showings locally, and from a DRF formulator standpoint, Pletcher is 4 for 5 with a placing, with graded fillies going long on the sand at 11-1 or less who have hit the board lower than 50 days ago. So once again, our DePaula Play of the Day at 8-1 odds in race number 9, the Alabama, will be number 7 Gambling Girl. And we'll see you at the race.
When you think trucks, think DePaula.
The all-new 2024 Chevy Trax is here. Bigger, roomier, seats 5, and lots of technology. And just $449 a month, zero down.
So come join the family and thank DePaula for all your automotive needs.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Handicappers Report reminding you that races 2, 6, and 11 at this moment are off the turf. If Apple weather is correct, they're not showing any precipitation for the near future. So let's hope that the 3 races are all that we lose and we go forward on Alabama Stakes Day. And
we mentioned Mike Veach earlier, his favorite day of the year, Alabama Day. And I thought I remembered this, but I looked up during the break. He came out with a new book towards the end of last year. I remember reading about it. I pulled up an article from December of last year.
What is it?
Legacy of Excellence. Thoroughbred Racing in Saratoga Springs, 1965 to 2008.
Oh, that's right in my wheelhouse.
I was going to say.
Oh, that's
They have to go over to the museum. And I would
is that where it is?
I would assume the museum will have copies. Northshire, maybe. But
I love Northshire. It's our son's favorite bookstore. The one in Vermont is even greater. It might be the greatest non-big city bookstore I've ever read. I know one thing. It's the greatest staircase I've ever seen in my life. So if that counts for anything. But really, that is beyond a home run for me. I mean, I've said it before. I'm 60 years old. I was born in 1963. So this is right up in my alley. You know what's interesting about that year he chose? I'd be interested to see, Mike. The grandstand edition was built about then. Give or take 1 year. I think that's I have to get mine autographed. I've known Mike for really the better part of 30 years when he first came to Capitol, etc. So
great guy,
tremendous person.
Appropriate. We discussed him on Alabama Day.
Absolutely.
What other day would we discuss?
Yeah, well, Any day would be appropriate.
No,
but most appropriate is today.
Yeah, as far as appropriate.
You say they sell it at the Hall of Fame?
I would assume because
it is on my docket to get it tomorrow. Not today. I cannot do it today, but it'll be on my docket tomorrow. If they're open early, I'd get it before we come on the thing and put it right in the middle between us as a token of appreciation for all the work he's done. We will do 11 today. Post time is 1:10. So here, the forum had 1 o'clock yesterday. Frank Miramati comes on and says post time's 1:05. So we were all over the map, but it's I don't know why. It doesn't matter.
You had mentioned the 1 o'clock yesterday, and I don't remember if I was still back here working, or I think I was still back here working, but headed to the front just about 1 o'clock. So I went in the trailer to kind of close things up and looked up, and they were still in the paddock at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so it wasn't happening.
That's not going to be it.
All right. The opener, 2-year-old open company, maiden special weights, going 6. And I just want to interrupt the type of race that we fully expect to have next week on Traverse Day with the loaded field.
Loaded.
Is that what you put?
Written at the top
I like
page.
it. I like it. Synergy. I agree.
It's a Saturday 2-year-old race at Saratoga. I went with Hunt Ball on top. This is a sibling to Cody's Wish. But the one that stood out to me was Endorsed. Endorsed was a debut winner right up here at Saratoga, and a sibling to this one. Debut winner up here at Saratoga back in 2019, going 6 furlongs. That was for Kieran and Godolphin. Obviously, Kieran now on the jockey agent side of things, but this is still Godolphin, Bill Mott Firster, Buy Into Mischief. Again, with the breeding and on this big day, I think Hunt Ball will be well meant. Risk It in the second spot, $500,000 purchase by Gunrunner, owned by Winchell for Steve Asmussen. I would think this one will be live, middle market. It's Chad Brown and Klarovich with a McLean's Music first-time starter. Gypsy Mischief, Buy Into Mischief from Graham Motion is a debut runner coming in with a bullet workout. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and there will certainly be some horses to keep our eyes on moving forward. But for me, 3, 1, 4, and 8.
You're going to lose your Oaklawn Park card. You didn't throw in the owner's horse. Number 5, World Fair. Wide open race. We guessed appropriately the same level, Hunt Ball, everything Seth mentioned. The workouts are just steady. Bill Mott is having a tremendous meet up here, ladies and gentlemen. He's had, I think, at least 2 firsters win.
I think that's right.
So Hunt Ball is in the mix for me. But listen, Act of Mutiny, not even on your list. The first-time starter for Mr. McGahee and Offspring of Quality Road. And then I have Gypsy Mischief, who you don't have in the mix either. And Into Mischief coming out of Graham Motion's barn. But listen, you have the one
Firster from Matoli. Yeah, Risk It.
I mean, it's a fun race, and if somebody's live, I don't have any stories, but I think the 3 will be live in the board. The 6 and the 8, less so for me. But your 1 and 4, I think, are completely live.
And I wrote at the top of my page the bucket hat. I wrote that because whenever there are giveaways, I go over and take some pictures of the giveaways just in case to tweet it out or whatnot. It was clearly popular.
They weren't flinging like the Rand McGalley Atlas.
I'm also changing my opinion on the.
Oh, Nelly! I told you.
Some people, and again, I'm changing.
Did you put one on?
No, I'm changing my opinion.
That's the picture we want.
I'm changing my opinion just overall. I'm still not sure it's in my wheelhouse exactly, but some people had turned up the brim, and so they were giving it another look that I thought, okay, I'm now maybe. So I'm not as. I'll
just say, because for those who don't know, we haven't talked about much. Seth has his family lineage. I think through your father is a Maine guy. Yeah. I mean, it's a big part of his life through his life. And so he likes the ocean, he likes the water and everything. But that's where they're enormously popular nowadays for people to protect their domes from the sun. Yeah. And that's where you see him. That's where I see him all the time. I don't see him walking down Broadway or anything, but at summer fair, you see him everywhere. Yeah. Males, females, everything. They just throw it on, their bucket, and they're protected from the sun.
And they were a lot of people were wearing them yesterday over on the front side just so they didn't have to carry them around. And like I say, some people a little jaunty with them. And so I was changing my opinion as the day went along. All right, second race today at Saratoga. Maiden Specials. It was scheduled a mile and 16th on the grass. Now we have moved in the second race to the main track.
And Right to Vote might have slipped here. So I can't believe I had to put this in my mix, but he's the MTO. Oh, by the way, did I text you? I didn't text you. I wanted to, but I didn't want to bother you. The race that I said the whole main body will come out.
Oh, you did text me.
And I did text you.
Yeah.
Oh, one stayed in, right? Just the one. So we got that right. I mean,
there was,
I don't think I've ever seen that before where I felt as if everybody's coming out and everybody's coming in, and it didn't go that way.
You texted me, and I was actually still sitting here working at 11:15 or whatever it was.
Yes.
And it was like 5 minutes later, I texted you again and said, and now it's pouring here. It was bizarre. Yesterday, I'm sitting here as the show's end. The sun's out, and we're talking about how nice it is. I sat here, and all of a sudden, the wind kicked up, and it was a torrential downpour for like 3 minutes, and then the sun came back out.
He put it because at that time, I had I've said this before at my house. I almost always have Seth on the network year round. I turn up the volume, drives our son crazy, and I walk around the house. So Frank Miramati was doing Talking Horses yesterday with Andy, and at that moment you're texting me, they're experiencing that. So I got up from my kitchen where I'm doing my work, and I looked at their set, and I was like, gee. And by the way, at that exact moment, it was about 80 degrees in the Capital District and sunny, and I was line drying. That's how different it is.
5 minutes later, it was sunny again up here. It was bizarre. All right, second race today again. Maiden Specials. They are moved to the main track in race 2.
I have to think that the 15 is, if they come in, because not all the time do the MTOs take the race, but the 15 is going to be tough in here. I think that's the only MTO. Yes. Looking at this, these mile races for juveniles, I would think, as I usually do, that these a greater possibility of these horses staying in than the olders that have had turf confirmation in here. The horse that would intrigue me would be number 2, Tom Collins, on a dirt race. Stuart Janney, the Phipps stable, they have rarely shied away from off the turf races staying in. But Wally World, the more than ready. I'll be intrigued to see if they stay in here with Uncle Mo on the bottom. Now, here's an interesting thing. Flavien Prat is named for both. When they take them off the turf, isn't he first call for the MTO?
I'm not sure necessarily. I don't know.
I think you
and then
I haven't bought a program in a long time because the form does everything that I need. But it used to be you opened up the form on these types races, and there would be a parenthetical number. And I think the parenthetical 1 would have been for right to vote, etc. But I think right to vote's going to run. I think there's going to be a jockey switch. I think Wally World is going to stay in. Get ready to rock. I would be inclined to think that American Pastime would want to run here, but be interesting to see the scratches. Just part of the game we have to play at 9:25.
I left my turf picks the same as dirt just because they're kind of unknowns in here.
Right.
And then I put the 15 down at the bottom. And I would think scratches, have a chance of pulling that one in. But again, the situation with the starting, how many get in and do we get the 15 in? Also eligible. Ken McPeak is going to be on with me later as well. And I think he thought he would jump in regardless. I'll find out more about it later on. But Wally World, if they stick and if they
you're in
can
the same
stick,
place as me. Okay.
Given the situation there. Blast Furnace, again, the 2 races so far have been turf. So will that one stay? If so. But Tom Collins, I did think was interesting. Again, the workouts underneath indicate surface switch may not be an obstacle for that one. So again, 6, 8, 2, and 5 with the 15 pulled in at the bottom of the mix for me.
Now, I am in no position to know how they choose the on the turf and off the turf. I can guess as a person who follows the racing. The second race, for example, they're thinking the race will somewhat hold together with the 2-year-olds. This third race, they run on the turf because I think they might be thinking, as I thought yesterday, the whole main body might leave if they don't make this race. that's just a guess on my part. I don't think it's a crazy thought, but I think race 3, because I think some of the casual fans will be like, well, why? How do they choose this? But this is a allowance race, 5.5 furlongs, where the main body horses, many of them seem absolutely committed to turf racing, Seth.
1, 6, 7, and 5, My Sweet Affair on top for me. Between the two tops of the entry, that's the one I clearly like better. But they're throwing a clunker up here. Now, was that an aberration, or is this potentially a negative horse for a course? I'm going with the former rather than the latter. I think this is, the horse showed some punch before fading. I'm going to look for this one to rebound, and the prior efforts were good enough to put that one right in the thick of things. Shoot Out the Lights in the second spot. Nice win in the debut, and then the number went backwards a little bit in the second start, moved in the right direction last time. I think if we can get back to that debut effort, and I don't think that it is out of the question at all. It's Wesley Ward, Irad Ortiz, Shoot Out the Lights becomes very dangerous. Don't look back at all in the third spot. Nice win last time on the dirt down at Parks. Christophe Clement with a Pennsylvania bred, shopping for some state bred money at Parks and Presque Isle in the last two. But there are some turf races underneath that indicate this one should be a player with this bunch this afternoon. 1, 6, 7, and 5.
I'm 6, 4, 5, and I've been talking about it for like 25 years. Where this debut, just what you said about Shoot Out the Lights, strong debut and the regression. I mean, I've talked about that as almost I've liked it because you almost always get the better end of the deal with the price. They're going to bet the horse off of the strong number, come back. But Shoot Out the Lights now is in a position where I think that 84-ish, high 70s is who we are. The 62, and I mostly thought about it with dirt racing because there weren't too many 5.5 furlong turfs. I don't think there were any in New York when I first started doing this for Capital. So Shoot Out the Lights to me is in a good pattern, and I like them on top. Underneath, I had Numero 6, Joe Sharp's runner, making the third start of the year. Both of them good. Both of them from an outside. We're inside today. And then Golden Dagger, who I think is very live in here at a big price. Even though I have a 3-1 shot on top, Seth, I thought this was a highly contentious race on the turf. Maybe less so if it had ever come off because there was little pranksters sitting there licking his chops. But as a turf race, I think this is outstanding. 6, 4, and 5 for me.
All right. Break time?
Play the daytime.
Oh,
Dark Horse play of the day.
Oh, right. Thanks for reminding me once again.
We're not.
I was on a whole streak there.
Today must be week 27 because I think our boss got us back tied yesterday. I think it's 10, 10, and 6 in the Times Union. There's been no separation this year. I'm just guessing on the top end. So I think today is day 27. So, I'll keep helping you out.
Yeah. I'm going to the Alabama for my dark horse play of the day today. So, I have liked wet paint all year long. I like wet paint this afternoon. But you know what? I think Gambling Girl could be a little bit interesting. Gambling Girl, Pletcher and Irad Ortiz, wound up third, and a fairly well-beaten third. But that was off a layoff from the second in the Kentucky Oaks, close-up second, on May 5th to July 22nd. And I wonder if maybe they weren't taking a look at this race and just, let's get our fitness and aim for the Alabama a little bit later on. Now, as you kind of alluded to earlier, they're all trying the trip for the first time, and that's going to be the big question mark.
I'll be last time.
Just like it is first Saturday in May with the boys. And so that's going to be the big question mark. But again, given what we saw in the Kentucky Oaks, Fletcher, Rapoli, Irad Ortiz, 8-1. I think this horse could be very, very interesting in here. And again, what is a fun addition of the Alabama. But for me, the dark horse play of the day, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile in downtown Saratoga. And again, if you're up here on a Saturday, going out for dinner later, they're open late downtown. Swing by the Dark Horse right there on Broadway, down the street, Impressions of Saratoga, their sister store. You'll be happy you did. But the dark horse play of the day for this Saturday afternoon. Race number 9, the Alabama. Horse number 7, Gambling Girl.
All right, take a quick break. When we come back, mandatory pay. What's that for the pick 4 today? So we'll be right back.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 101-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 101 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now. Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Race number 4 on this Saturday afternoon. $16,000 claimers, 3/4 of a mile.
5-7-1 for me, and I actually paid attention to myself where I thought this race on balance was 4 or 5 winners in here. We have a couple of horses, really the 7s, and not to settle on a short price horse. And Ragtime Blues is 6-1. Receives the services of Luis Saez with some early speed for Peter Walden, who hasn't run very many horses at this meet. I think that this horse fits in the mix and should be a square price on a race that has about 5 or 6 live contenders. For second, I have number 7, Poppy's Pride. Seth also has for second. Comes off of a second place finish at 12-5 at this level early in the meet. And from the rail, Ensign Parker moving into the Ray Handlebar, 5-7-1.
Yeah, I was with you in that I kind of was all over the place and searching. I wound up on No More Talk to 10, 10-7, 2-5. And I was interested that Irod Ortiz sticks. Has had a couple of starts up here already. Debut effort, ran 4th, was claimed out of that, bounced up to the 20 level last time, ran an okay 3rd. Now drops back down to 16. And again, that Irod elected to stick. There was just enough there to tilt in that direction. No standouts, though, anywhere in here. Poppy's Pride in the second slot. The start up here last time at the 12-5 level was pretty good. And, the 8-1 price on this horse looks a little bit generous. And then Handsome Cat stepping out of Allowance Company, albeit Allowance Company last April. Was the last time seen down at Aqueduct, but I think this one on the class move could be a little bit interesting. But it's also a class move that has you, I'm not sure, off a layoff like that. So we'll see. But in the 4th, again, not with a lot of confidence, 10-7, 2-5.
And as it's remaining quite cool here, 71 is reported to be the high today. So everybody should be comfortable at the racetrack. On the 5th, entry-level allowance going 6.
1A, 3, 8, and 5. I'm going to put Defusky Island on top. Nice triple-digit buyer. 2 starts back. Led all the way up here at Saratoga. Had the lead at portions of the race last time before winding up 3rd. And I kind of shopped around. I wasn't totally convinced. But again, if you get past the last race up here and the number thrown there, the numbers going 2, 3, 4 starts back seem to kind of have a little bit of an edge on this bunch. So I'm hoping with the start over the track this season under the belt, maybe we get back to one of those efforts. If so, the Defusky Island probably the one to beat. But Abaddon, I took a serious look at the Pletcher horse off the maiden breaker last time on the move to Saratoga. Wouldn't shock me to see this horse with only the 3 starts under the belt move forward a little bit. Probably does have to, but just a little bit. If we get one of the more consistent numbers from Defusky Island, and then Durante in the 3rd spot. Looks to fit, but all the numbers are out of town, and the most recent number was at Penn National. It was a nice win, but it's always hard to know what to believe with the Penn National numbers. For me, it's just because it's a circuit that you don't normally see horses coming in from. frequently into New York. So again, I'm not ever sure what to make of those necessarily. But again, the horse in Southern California and was tossing some numbers that are going to mix it up with this bunch. In the fifth for me, 1A, 3, 8, and 5.
I'm on board. I will say Durante, David Jacobson going very well. But what combated that was at 3-1. I wasn't interested with the Penn National horse, but at a big price, I would have been a bigger price, I should say. I liked a la carte in the last effort. I'm expecting a bounce forward here, and it's dangerous to hear, but I see it the same way. The 1A, the 3, and the 5. Probably if I was on my own, I would have put a la carte on top. Disappointed me in the last race, but I think there's something there. I can't believe that both races at Gulfstream Park are an aberration. So 1A, 3, and 5 in a contentious race. I think the 8-1 shot is in that mix as if he was almost a 3-1 shot. I believe that in my horse.
6th race this afternoon. Again, we're off the turf. State-bred maiden 40 claimers. Again, it was a mile and 16th on the grass, but once again, 2, 6, and 11 off today. So this is off the turf.
And what is intriguing here, the MTOs 14, 15, 16, the morning line odds from David are 12, 20, and 6. So I don't think like little prankster earlier. I actually don't look for help. The MTO yesterday was the short price that it was and ran last in a 3-horse field.
Three-horse field, longest price wins. And I had the horse that ran last. Look to have an edge on that bunch. But
where'd the edge go?
But the price on the winner was, in a 3-horse field, that price was kind of nuts.
I agree with that because they went hog wild for the MTO. I'm 3, 9, 10. I don't think the MTOs are going to help. Unlike the race yesterday, as I go through this as I would want to do in the main body, which is 10, Seth, I have to say I would make the over/under 2.5 scratches. I think they're going to stay in here. Did you see where Honor Code got sold? To Japan?
I didn't see.
That kind of disappoints me. But Burning Honor, my top pick. I'm staying. I'm 3, 9, 10 in here. I think the 3 and the 9 are going to stay. The 10 might not stay in here, but I like Burning Honor for Dominic Schettino, an offspring of Honor Code. Who I think was just sold, runs for a tag for the second time. I like him going the mile today. So 3, 9, 10, and I like Burning Honor staying. And like I said, I think the main body, I don't think the MTOs are worrisome, and I think the majority of the main body will stay.
I did use an MTO. I used Mucho Mamma Mia.
Okay.
I thought there was enough there. I ran tees for Jeremiah, and no standout by any means, but again, I think it's a relatively, kind of weak field, and this one gets what they wanted, so I'll tilt slightly in that direction. And then underneath, I just had the horses I was using on turf, Pinstripe Pizzo. The first couple of starts on dirt weren't much, but gets some class relief and has some experience now that may mitigate the surface switch if they stay in. Leadership ability, I thought could be a player with only the one start under the belt, Chad and Klarovich, and they're all often live if they stay in these type of situations. So again, 16, 5, 9, and 11 for me.
All right, take 6th. Quick break. When we come back, the late pick 5 kicking off at 4:26.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
But here comes High Jump
to the top. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Handicappers Report up to race number 7. The second half of the 3-year-old fillies on the turf. Surge Capacity made the whole month of July for our family, getting through, coming out of the maiden race. It was 5-1, I think. Yes. Keyed the Superfecta that my wife still to this day, $79. Yes, we have it more than once. The Lake Placid, mile 16th, I think a very competitive race, like incredibly competitive.
Chad Brown has won 4 of the last 6 Lake Placid runnings, and he's got 4 in here today. So we'll see how that works out. 4, 7, 8, and 2 for me, and I'm going for the Chad Super in here. I went with Tax Implications, but Surge Capacity, who won the Lake George and only the second start of the career last time, is going to be very tough. But I'm going to flip-flop these two now. Extra 16th of a mile. We'll see how that works out. But I went slightly for Tax Implications over Surge Capacity. Prerequisite for Chad Brown comes in off a nice close-up second-place finish last time in the Belmont Oaks. And I think as a player, Irad Ortiz on board. Asprey in the 4th spot for me. It's also Chad Brown, 4th in the Belmont Oaks, but the race, the Hilltop, the stake down at Pimlico just before that, puts her in the mix here. I could point to maybe a couple others that I think are intriguing as well. But for me, 4, 7, 8, and 2.
And I have 4, 2, 8. I have the Chad Brown trifecta. And, I suspect there's going to be give in the turf. As you said, I think this breeze helps a little bit, but the top 2 picks come out of the top 2 Chad Brown runners, the 4 and the 7 that you have, come out of the Lake George, which was listed as yielding. I make the 3rd start of the year for Tax Implications. I like it. Surge Capacity, who I loved that day coming out of the race. That's 2 big efforts in a row. So we'll see if he has the 3rd one. But I have Asprey with Flavian Prat coming 2 races back. Seth mentioned winning the Hilltop. Mile and a quarter down to a mile and 16th. That might help the Austrian Equality Road, but then I have Prerequisite on the outside. I'd love to see in Vegas. They probably wouldn't post a line. Chad Brown winning or losing. It'd have to be like 1 to 5, maybe 1 to 10. I mean, but the other runners are serious runners in here. Brad Cox, Todd Fletcher, a couple, but it's a good addition, even with the idea that even if the top 4 you believe, and I think you mentioned, that Asprey, the 4th Chad Brown, is your 4th pick, right?
Yeah.
So even just those 4 make it a great race. And I agree. I went 4, 2, 8.
A little commotion out there.
Yes. Hopefully the wasn't picked up by our mics. It's a little rough
this morning. I don't think we have to worry about that. The 8th at Saratoga today. Optional claimers with the C condition. The 1.5 turn mile.
7-3-1 in here. I didn't have much of a feel for this race. My fear for Nostalgic, who you have for second, is that slight regression off of the first race since November 25th. Now, the race was July 19th, so that's a month ago in the hands of Bill Mott, so I'm probably less concerned in here. For 3rd, number Gerrymander, who won the Mother Goose, when there was a Mother Goose, right? They didn't run the Mother Goose this year, right? I think it's gone. So, and then for 3rd, Movie Moxie from the rail, 7-3-1.
3, 7, 1, and 4. I thought 8 was a little bit interesting as well, but I put Gerrymander on top. And again, tomorrow I'll try to make a little hay with the show pool, but this one was part of that knock it out of the park show pool bankroll I did a couple of years ago. 10-1 gets it done and added to a nice total on the show side of things. And obviously the horse has been dear to my heart since then. All of that said, only 1 win in the last 8 starts. And you have to go back to June of last year in the Mother Goose. Yes. So I just think with this particular bunch, Gerrymander might fit okay. Nostalgic in the 2nd spot, coming off a seasonal debut that was a close-up finish and may benefit from that. And then Movie Moxie in the 3rd spot. Linda Rice trainee comes in in very good form, having won 2 of the last 3, and should mix it up in here. 8th at Saratoga today, 3-7, 1-4.
Take our final break. When we come back, the Alabama and the final pick 3.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 101-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 101 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The only thing better than watching the races is watching your own racehorse. With nearly 20 years experience in the racing industry, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program enables everyday fans to become part owner of a thoroughbred for far less than you might think, with all the ownership perks at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, and other great tracks. Experience the thrill and lifestyle of owning your own thoroughbred racehorse. Learn more at bonaventurestables.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Scheduled for 5:45. The very prestigious Grade 1, 10 furlongs, 3-year-old fillies, the Alabama.
Again, I let the cat out of the bag earlier
Yes,
with the dark horse play of the day. I have it 7, 2, 8, and 1. I'm going to take a little shot. Beaten favorite coming out of the coaching club, American Oaks. They're all testing the distance for the first time, so we'll see what she can do. But I think maybe with that little fitness builder in the coaching club, Gambling Girl becomes more intriguing today, and at an 8-1 price for Pletcher, Rapoli, and Irad Ortiz. Again, as the beaten favorite last time, Gambling Girl on top. Wet Paint, the one to beat, obviously. And yes, she steps firmly into the picture for divisional honors, putting a win here. That'll add to the Grade 1 coaching club, American Oaks. So Wet Paint, very, very intriguing. And again, distance is going to be a little bit of a question mark, obviously, but I would label her as the one to beat. Randomized is the interesting one for Chad and Klarovich. Only 4 career starts. Won the restricted Wilton last time on the move up to Saratoga. Did it pretty convincingly on the front end with a solid number. This horse could be a very intriguing player in here today. For me, though, I'm going to go for a little bit of an upset. An upset with the horse who's favored in the coaching club, American Oaks. 7, 2, 8, and 1.
And you know what intrigues me about Randomized? First off, by far the best buyer speed figure of a career. In the most recent, I think the only one that's run 290s or above, and he's 9-2. On buyers, I am doing everything wrong with Wet Paint, who's never run a 90. But watching her run, I mean, and can an 88 win the Alabama? I mean, that's what I mean. I don't know that Wet Paint has a 90 in the mix, because I loved her in the coaching club American Oaks, and she scored the victory. She was 7-5, but got an 89. This is a intriguing race for the buyer. I'll be interested to see how they bet Randomized, because she sticks out. I mean, she got the race over the track going a mile. I like Wet Paint today to win this race, but boy, she's a tough. Julia Shining, who making the first start since the Ashland. And then I have Fireline. And my thought with Fireline, Seth, was the 3-year-old debut race might be a good enough buyer speed figure to almost win this race. And I expected the regression in the Delaware Oaks. And now I expect the offspring of Arrogate to move forward. And quite frankly, if I wasn't in the Times Union today, Fireline would be my top pick. But it's intriguing that I think from the axiom that you mentioned to me, and I think you're 100% right about this buyer thing, everybody's in the pool. So you should never take Wet Paint at a short price is my bottom line. But there you go. I mean, really an interesting race. Defining Purpose comes out of an 87. I mean, according to the buyer numbers. Everybody's in the swimming pool.
Yeah, it's really nice addition.
And Gambling Girl is a better public handicapper pick than my wet paint.
It is a very nice edition of the Alabama this afternoon. 10th race still on the turf.
Yes.
We're looking at optional claimers, non-winners, 2 other than a mile on the grass. Top of the page I have written wide open.
Yes. 10 in the main body here. Rinaldi's on the outside, winning the Forbidden Apple a couple years ago in a lifetime best performance. And, it's tough outside going, the mile. And I've said this before to you, Seth, and the rails are up 27 feet, which on the inner, 27 feet is a lot. It only looks like there's 4 lanes on the melon. How about on the inner? 259 for me. We both land on Napoleonic War, making the second start since last summer at Saratoga. Chad Brown adds blinkers. Nice comeback race at nearly 8-1. Whisper Not. Brendan Walsh's runner scored the victory over Napoleonic War on July 20th. And for third, number 9, Verbal, who I just think, along with Rinaldi, you get the worst of it outside going a mile. Irad Ortiz, I think, will figure it out. But 259 in an outstanding allowance race. 2,
5, 10, and 7 for me. Napoleonic War. I'm right with you. Whisper Not. They both are coming in off nice effort right up here at Saratoga last time. Whisper Not had the better performance running a winning effort while Napoleonic War ran third, but that was off a long layoff. So I'll look for the switch up today. I say it all the time. Sometimes as handicappers, we try to get clever and switch things up, and they come under the wire in the same fashion. But again, Napoleonic War, having only the 1 start so far this season, may benefit from that and move forward. And then I put Rinaldi in the 3rd spot, and you're absolutely right. From the outside post position, will have his work cut out. But with the early speed, I would expect him to maybe have the ability to get good position going into the first turn. And the horse clearly likes Saratoga. Now, at age 7, is this the same Rinaldi? We'll find out a little bit more about that today. But as a kind of a horse for a course play in here, I had to toss it into the mix in the 10th, 2, 5, 10, and 7.
And I will say the price might be right for finding out.
Yeah.
As I like to say about prices, you're allowed to ask more questions the higher the price. On to the finale. Scheduled to go off at 6:52. It's off the turf, right? 6:11.
Yep.
So we're going to go 5.5 state bred. Maiden claimer is 40.
I pulled in Blue Plate Special. Linda Rice, they get the surface they want. There are dirt races underneath that are clearly good enough. And then I left my turf picks. And we'll see if they stick with Henson. I would think they would off the
I'm with
turf.
you.
But this is an interesting, there's something, this one's intriguing to me. Henson comes in from the Finger Lakes last time. And this was a homebred by Monhill Farm, owned by, if I have it right, Bernardo Mongill, who was the owner last time. So they come in from Finger Lakes. They're off the turfer, show some nice punch before running third. Well, now in the barn of Brad Cox from Atiquette and Company, so clearly a private purchase. But they come back for 40. How much would they have offered? And the homebred, they may have been happy with 25 or 30. Who knows? But normally a private purchase, you're not jumping in like, oh, let's go buy ourselves a maiden claimer. So I found this scenario very interesting that they went out and bought the horse, and now they come back for the tag. But off the debut, I put it in the mix. And then in the 3rd spot, I'm going to go with Kid Emerald. Again, question mark will be the surface witch, but I thought there was a little bit of talent vis-a-vis the numbers in there. Spoofy, also, it's going to be a question mark with the surface witch, but it's hard to know what to do. But Henson, very intriguing for me. 14, 10, 6, 12, and 1.
I'll be interested in the price now because with the 14 and the 1A possibly coming in, Henson might be better than the 8-5 morning line, and I think we'll run better. Won't be anywhere near 25-1, but I'm 10, 14, 16 in the finale, which is off the turf, and we'll see how many of the main bodies scratch. Got it.
Oh, good.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. It's not where they are. It's where they're going, Seth, and nailed it like the fly. Got them. So interesting finale. See if they stay in. It's very. I don't usually follow that angle, but when you see previously trained by, you love when they show up.
Absolutely.
Look at this. This is gonna be. You're gonna need a second seat here. That is a beautiful dog, Mr. McPeak has. I'll hold him and watch him. That is it. I love dogs. That's it though. But Swiss skydiver, amongst other trainers on the near front, coming in. We had his first time started the other day with Julian Laperouse.
We'll hit on that as well. We're alluding Ken McPeak off the set here. He'll be the first guest at the top of the hour. A little bit after that, Jay Provenzano will join us from Flying P, and John Piasek from the Maryland Thoroughbred Breeders. They've got a couple of nice.
Seth, don't bother.
They have a couple of nice state-bred races down at Laurel today, so we'll touch quickly on those and get some opinions for today as well. So that's all coming up at the top of the hour.
I doubt he cares very much, but since he's here, I have tremendous empathy because I do not think you will ever get, and when I say you, it's Mr. Ken McPeak, your just desserts for your Preakness win with her.
Oh.
I think it's one of the, see, he shrugged his shoulders. He doesn't care, but I care about things like that. It was one of the great performances. Remember that Rachel Alexander beat the stiff that never won another race. He beat the horse of the year. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. And I mean, it was a great horse race, and she beat a legitimate thoroughbred on the Apex. And unfortunately, it was, during the, one of the worst years, that I've ever experienced. And I've said from time to time, there are no acceptable trivia questions associated with 2020. But she was great that day. She was great up here. She was great down there. Ken McPeak will be on with Seth in a moment. You mentioned who else he had. It's Alabama Day. I think it's going to be a great day to come to the track. I mean, it's probably only going to get up to 70 degrees. And it's a terrific card, and it's a tremendous addition on balance of the Alabama, whether you're going to get a price or wet paint's going to move forward. But it's a great day to come to the races, ladies and gentlemen. So he stays, I go. Enjoy your Alabama.
You've been watching the Handicappers Report. The Handicappers Report has been brought to you by Thorough Pace, Premium Racing Analytics, allowing bettors to identify races with extreme pace scenarios in a matter of seconds. Capital OTB's mobile wagering platform. Bet any place, anytime with Capital OTB's mobile wagering platform. And CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier wagering site in New York State.